Warning. The following podcast contains politics, leftist politics, the whole truth, justice, American way thing. We live in a time where one has to post this. Progress is a dirty word, such as science and reason. My superheroes would weep. This podcast contains naughty language as well. Welcome everybody to DC Domingo 26, DC Legit. Happy 2018 everybody. We are starting the day and the month and the year with a lot of cool excitement going on in DC. Heads up, next podcast that I'm going to be doing, it's going to be a audio commentary of Wonder Woman. I was going to do one with my girlfriend, but she is swamped with all kinds of like homework and stuff and university, and I got my little bit of share of homework as well from college. I also have, family, work, life. So yeah, I'll be doing a, Wonder Woman commentary. Then, around Valentine's, the digital copy of the Justice League comes out, and I think I'm going to do that. I'm also going to do a commentary for that as well. So the next two podcasts in this channel are going to be full-length commentaries with some insights. I will be ordering The Art of Wonder Woman, the book, and The Art of Justice League, the book, to kind of like give people like behind-the-scenes stuff that we might have missed, or my own take on it and stuff like that. Running down on things that we're going to talk about today. Part one, the segment of taking out the trash is back. I have some really good ones this time because I was talking in a podcast and, somebody mentioned like some of the, the problems that a lot of critics have with DC, and I'm like, yeah, I've had my share. Then I went to a Facebook post, and somebody reminded me of this guy named Max Landis, and I'm like, oh yeah, I totally forgot to mention that. Well, now that he's like a sexual predator, I guess I'm able to talk about it. I don't think anybody's gonna like defend him anymore. His career might be over. I don't know. Who knows? But that's gonna be part one. Part two is going to be, like the news, Oscar nominations, snubbed Wonder Woman. Also, I've been going around some forums, and somebody mentioned that this is a rumor that DC is starting their own, like DC News. Like they're expanding DC All Access, I guess. I don't know. I'll comment on it, I guess. We're also going to talk about Doomsday Clock going bi-monthly. And then we're going to get down to the CW programming and the awesome event of DC Comics in DC, Washington. So let's get started, shall we? Alrighty then. So taking out the trash. What you're seeing here is a screen cap that happened a very long time ago. July 5th of 2016. The previous day was the 4th of July. I made some really good international hot dogs. I made it with sauerkraut and German sausage. I made one of Italian. I made one with like Mexican chorizo, sour cream, and stuff like that. It's pretty bomb. I really like those hot dogs. But anyways, long story short. So here we have Max Landis complaining about Batman vs Superman. Saying that regarding Batman vs Superman, the movie asks a bunch of philosophical questions in a montage, then ignore them in favor of 3 people fighting an ogre. I chimed in, and I was like, Chronicle raised the same issues and ended up in a meaningless fight, underlined. And then meaning given to art is in the viewer's. It's like the viewer's choice. Like, it's your job to give art meaning, Venus de Milo. What is she? She can just be like an armless nude. If you don't know anything about that, right? So then, he replied, very selfishly, I like the idea that you thought the fight was meaningless. Saying, kind of like, oh, you're wrong, buddy. It's you. And then I replied, no fault on your talent, wink wink. I wasn't invested. Artist, audience depend on each other. That's how magic works. Kind of trying to get him to reply, but he didn't, like, you only get one tweet out of these haters. I was going to comment that, The Empire Strikes Back had a great philosophical montage with a frog. And ends up with 2 people fighting. One of them is a Frankenstein. Yet, I fucking love Empire Strikes Back from Star Wars. So we have this Max Landis douchebag, not taking any criticism for his work, or admitting that the art is in the eye of the beholder. It is no surprise that recently he's been accused, not by one person, but by several people, of sexual harassment. And Bright, a movie that he wrote, got a sequel without him. So that's kind of cool. Moving on, this lady has been talking shit about DC for quite some time. Alisha Grauso. She wrote that maybe there should be a study on which fan base is more toxic, DC or Marvel. And I was like, okay, I'll take your study money. Here's my first Google search. Kind of like saying, hey, you should fucking Google this shit. And it's interesting that the picture chosen is a bunch of minorities. Got an Asian Hulk, Kamala as a Miss Marvel. And, the thing with Marvel is that people were always, oh yeah, Marvel's more identifiable, it's more relatable. And I'm like, is that why they changed all their white male characters in the Avengers to minorities? If they were all relatable, you shouldn't have fucking changed them, right? But the fact is, they were not that relatable. They marketed to white dudes in the suburbs. That was the bread and butter of the America back in the 60s. Baby boomers. Before the, the 60s civil rights, 70s women liberation, minorities coming into light and all that stuff. So that was what they had. And, again, Alisha Grauso didn't say shit because a bunch of haters didn't like the fact that a bunch of minorities were in the Marvel comics. And people were like, well, you shouldn't really, talk about that stuff. I'm like, so mutants before minorities? A made-up group of oppressed people before the actual group of oppressed people that you're trying to identify? Yeah, we're the horrible ones, right? I mean, no, it's the Marvel guys. Anyways, moving on. This lady, it was kind of interesting because she's always been taking shots at DC. And it's weird, though, because she says she's a fan. So it's always weird with her. I think I got blocked She started to really, really, really get on people's nerves. She was like, so the embargo on Justice League reviews lifts tomorrow night. Oh, I'm really looking to boost that signal. It's after, Rotten Tomatoes did their thing, and she was almost like very giddy that the Justice League got bad reviews. Anyways, there was this African American lady who was, saying that she actually supported, the Amazons in Justice League. And this is before all the CrossFit and bodybuilders. There was like 3, 4, 5 of them that came out in support of Justice League. This is before all the women involved in those scenes came out and said, fuck you, my body, my choice, right? So she started blaming this African American lady, saying, I'm dying of the fanboy girl, hand-waving the horrible redesign of the Amazon costumes by leveraging a comment by an actress in a minor role. So not only is she like dissing the actors, she's saying, oh, it's only one actress in a minor role. So she already has a fucking bias in there. And then I'm saying, so you're making fun of a person of color, because there were a lot of these Amazons, and there were, some of them were African American, some of them, were Polynesian. So I was like, are you really making fun of someone, And then this other human, giant-sized man thawed, whatever, here, this human wrote, seriously, because I guess one seriously is not enough. You're seriously, so a third seriously, pulling that shit, dude. It's kind of funny. This person goes by bisexual, cisgender, poly nerd guy with opinions about sex, Star Wars, comics, mental illness, and much more. He's him. I sometimes post pictures in my underwear. Addresses me as a dude. Sure. I would like the same respect. Maybe refer to me as them. And then another seriously. So 1, 2, 3, 4 seriouslys. And so I just screen cap. Oh, you don't like it when somebody uses the ethnic card, even though your bio is using all these cards as some kind of identity. I thought actions meant more than just labels. And then, oh man, you should owe me by posting my bio. I'm so triggered. It's like, I do not want to own any human beings, figuratively or otherwise. Things. Going back to, oh, you own me. Because that phrase is kind of a fucking offensive. Some people were owned. So, you are very tedious. I'm sure you hear that a lot. It's like, I don't know, I do dress up like Teddy Roosevelt every once in a while. And then DC women kicking ass goes, okay, dude, bye. And then here's a fucked up part. That I thought was kind of like, ew, DC women kicking ass. We'll see it for Wandy and Mara, and for I'm here Flash and Aquaman, but I'm not getting my hopes up. And then somebody was like, hey, what about Cyborg? You left a black person out of your enthusiasm. So it kind of corroborated my hint that she was like dissing an African American girl and didn't give a fuck about the African American hero Cyborg. Is she a fucking racist? I don't know, but shit like that is always like bothersome, So, it is what it fucking is, man. The other one that was kind of funny, this one resurfaced just now. Ashley Lynch, she just posted, think I'm gonna write an article about the absurd toxic fan culture that is developed where DC, CU, Snyder fans just need to go to war constantly, and the batshit conspiracy they're developed against Disney. Well, a long time ago, she was triggered and started talking shit about, Snyder. Someone called her a racist. She even wrote woman of color, you racist. Again, apparently, minorities were just supposed to shut the fuck up and let the white people do the talking. So I wrote something Quite nice. Hola, Mexicano Zack Snyder fan here. Until you trash Snyder, I never heard of you. You don't suck, but I like your stance on, quote, trolls get publicly humiliated, so be cool and perhaps follow your mantra, peace. Because this is what she posted. Trolls get publicly humiliated in her fucking, description of her Ashley Link trademark. I don't know who names their fucking kid trademark, but that's fucking horrible. Moving on. So this is what proceeded. And it was really interesting, the development of it. She wrote, she makes movies about powerful girls for 14-year-old boys. It's a jerk-off material. It's not empowerment. I wrote, okay, how about woman-splaining by the cast, since I suffer from being born this way? Meaning I'm a male, I can't fucking comment, right? And I wrote, put another one. Here is one more. Again, not from a male. It's a link to Emily Browning says, talks about, a sex scene in Sucker Punch. Ashley Lynch writes, meaning what exactly? And then I write, that's the women making said film don't share said view, nor woman producing it, nor the women cosplaying it, nor the women who like the films. So, she says, so it means your opinion isn't rock solid, unless all opinions don't matter equally. Go away, she wrote. That's what white people keep telling my indigenous people. And then she writes, you don't like Sucker Punch, so race card. That's lame. You go mute now. My reply was like, you aren't smart enough to argue with a brown person, so mute me. Again, I was just defending a person of color, and that's what I got. Another wonderful racist thing, Dana Schwartz. Now, should I base that name that she's a white person? That would probably be racist, right? There's a picture attached. I can confirm or deny that's the right person. Final Justice League thought. It is literally insane. The Jason Momoa's character's name is Arthur. Arthur is a name for pasty people with bow ties and glasses, not giant Polynesian sex dolls. Two fucking problems here. Jason's a pretty fucking standard white person name. So I guess us brownies and natives can't have generic white people's names. Maybe white generic people should fucking stop invading brown Polynesian native indigenous places and naming us that fucking way. The other thing is sex gods, Polynesian sex gods. Fuck you, Dana Schwartz. Thank you for sexualizing fucking brown people. We get that shit enough from television. We don't need it from so-called journalists with a blue fucking tick next to her tweet handle. Yeah, even though like they're trying to be like, oh, sex god, that's still fucking disrespectful and fucking racist. Last but not least, Dan Slott. Who previous to Wonder Woman not getting nominated, this is the first time that Wonder Woman started winning all the other awards and being nominated, to the AFI, Top 10, and things like that. Dan Slott wrote, make no mistake about it though. Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman is still the crown jewel for the DCEU, and one of the best superhero movies ever. No other DCEU movie is even close. I wrote, yet the MCU can't match Logan. Yeah, because instead of him fucking criticizing, the other people, get your shit together. I mean, Logan has been nominated for an Oscar, and maybe now Disney can actually get Marvel an Oscar, and all it took was buying the whole fucking studio of Fox Studios. And that, my friend, it wraps up for Taking Out the Garbage. I'm gonna leave you with this wonderful hashtag, some of my best enemies are white, because this fucking thing keeps happening. I keep defending people of color and other nerds, and these fucking white people keep attacking us. It's a coincidence, right? Alright, we're going to change it up. It's going to be something more fun, and I'm going to start it off with this pretty damn cool shout out. by none other than J. Oliva, who directed The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2, who is an awesome storyboard artist for not only some of the Justice League Unlimited cartoons, but also for Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. I know that Zack Snyder does a lot of his own storyboards, but sometimes, you need another set of hands for, either revisions or more ideas on fights and stuff like that. So he is one of the really nice people on Twitter. He was talking about the Martha scene, and I wrote he was talking to, or some guy named Arellano talked to Jay about it, and I wrote, Arellano, as a minority myself, the whole Martha scene was not about the same name. It's about overcoming xenophobia/racism. For instance, it's not that I see a Latino last name and say, we're the same. It's like, I see you as mi gente. And, J. Oliva wrote bingo, and then, people liked it. That's the kind of cool stuff that we need. And that's kind of being slowly but surely my positive outlook on things. For instance, I like comic book debate all the time for that reason. They keep it positive. They were doing submissions for writing and assignments and things like that, and I was like, dude, I'm probably too controversial for your stuff. I don't want to, I curse all the fucking time, so that's not cool. So anyways, yeah, I like the fact that us DC fans keep it positive, and that's the thing. Nobody mentions this stuff when we're trying to just enjoy our fucking thing and just do our thing, network with other DC fans, and just keep a cool head. There's always someone going, fuck those guys. And that's when the problem started. And that's the thing, just because a lot of people say, well, don't respond to trolls, just like that passive mentality has spread and led to some really big fucking assholes to get ballsy and just like desecrate, Jewish tombs, say xenophobic shit all the time on Twitter and on just everywhere. When you unhinge the fucking trolls, they'll get more power. I don't believe in that whole turning the other cheek stuff, because they're just going to take your fucking whole face off. The other fun little tweet I saw not too long ago, leaker extraordinaire Edward Snowden shared this, here's a new report describing how NSA is laying the groundwork to track people down through the microphones around us every day. Your phone calls, a friend's laptop, the phone next to you on the train, that Amazon Echo on the shelf. He shared the Intercept article and report. And, he retweeted a tweet by Jake LaPerouquet. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce it. Remember that scene in The Dark Knight where Batman makes a hyperbolic crazy surveillance system that uses all phones to find the Joker based on his voice? That could actually happen. And does anybody recall Batman and Brother Eye? That's from the comics. Thank you, Christopher Nolan, for that scene. And, Snowden gave a shout out to Batman. And yeah, that was one of our heroes going into that dark territory. And yes, it has root in the comics. That's wonderful, because it shows that even our heroes can do really dark things if things go unchecked, so that's kind of cool. Now we're going to get into the CW shows. All right. So the next category is the Oscar nomination snubs. Wonder Woman. That one's a big one because in the previous podcast, I kind of hoped that all this bullshit with all these fucking sexual predators, that at least something positive would come out, like, some women being in charge and CEOs of movie studios, or like, the Oscars putting more women directors in there. But, Wonder Woman was snubbed. I think it's because once they had Lady Bird and 3 Billboards, They kind of said, fuck it, that's enough, we met the quota. And I think that's the problem with the Academy. The Academy has really short attention span. I normally don't like to nominate things on my blogs, like the top 10 blogs that I do about movies, on movies that came out a month or two before the Oscars, because I think it's kind of unfair. Of course, you're going to be like, hey, if I release my movie close to Oscar season, maybe I'll get nominated. I don't like that. It kind of defeats the purpose of movies being released earlier in the year. And, if the Academy Award has really short attention span, it sucks for them. Maybe they should retire and let younger people in there who actually fucking love cinema instead of just being part of it. So it is kind of depressing that Wonder Woman was snubbed for the Oscars. Perhaps, Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot will be there, presenting, or, in some, interview fashion, But, it is quite disappointing for the Academy. I am quite pleased that Guillermo del Toro got a bunch of nominations for The Shape of Water. It is very kind of, it's a double-edged sword, with this Me Too movement, because at the time where, minorities, the movie Get Out, or The Big Sick, or, even this one, or Mudblood, where all these minorities were finally getting nominated, 2 Mexicans, one back-to-back, for Best Director, that this backlash, all of a sudden, the movement is to make, white women in charge and more white women focus. That's why there's a backlash against the representation. There needs to be an equal representation. And, dude, LA is full of Mexicans. Where's our representation up there? So, yeah, I think the Academy has a little bit to go. So it'll be interesting going forward. Because we are getting more female-led movies in the DC universe. Starting with Margot Robbie, who did an amazing job with I, Tonya. Go see it. So yeah, it looks exciting, but I am kind of bummed out that Wonder Woman didn't get any Oscar nominations. When you go around some of the forums or apps or websites to talk about comics, you ran into some rumors that are kind of interesting. And this is one that I kind of, how do I put this? I don't want to officially comment, but I do think that it's a good idea if this rumor turns out to be true. The rumor is that somewhere out there in the ether, somebody said that, either Warner Brothers or DC wants to start their own news outlet channel for DC Entertainment, and this, I think this is good for everybody, because channels like mine wouldn't exist if everything was honky dory. I don't think that people would risk being ridiculed online for saying I love Batman vs. Superman. When you put that out there on Twitter, people will lash out at you. I've seen some negativity over here on Twitter, and it's just ridiculous. People get death threats and such. Even DC fans, we got blamed for The Last Jedi. I mean, seriously, there's so much hatred. So I think that if we were to get not just someone, but a few people involved, just hire 5 people, full time, and then 5 other people for the night shift. You'll have coverage 24/7 of any kind of rumors for DC. Just have all the important numbers on speed dial, any stupid rumor. Because right now, the Shazam director is doing a pretty kick-ass job. He takes down trolls on Twitter. He takes down trolls on Instagram. It's amazing. He's doing it by himself, People like Zack Snyder, Patty Jenkins, David Ayer, they were so freaking busy. They didn't have time for that. but you kind of need to. You kind of need to put trolls in their place. And it's not only them. Like, I just showed you all these so-called journalists who like bitch about DC Comics, and then they're like, oh my god, their fans are so vile to me. It's like, well, dude, if you're a fucking Nazi, of course you're gonna hate everybody who's not a Nazi. That puts you in your fucking place. You know, so, and yes, we have been called Nazis. Thank you very much. That's fucked up. No, not thank you very much. More like fuck you very much. Yeah, we have been compared to Nazis by, I guess, people that hate DC. They're just like, oh, they're just like Nazis, because apparently that's the worst thing you can be. Even though the British killed more people than the Nazis, and so did the Spanish, but because probably, benefits of being a white person by a British, I don't know, I don't want to get into that shit. But anyways, so yes, we need someone to control the information. That's all we're saying. And if the rumor is true, yes. Alright, first up, Arrow. Last time we saw Arrow, he was disbanding the whole team, as it were. I'm finding the new villain for Arrow to be really quite compelling. He's just like a tech wizard, hacker. He's just very down to earth, very methodical. He always plans ahead. And I like the fact that, he's not like Prometheus, like the previous bad guy of the season. I like the fact that in this season, both Flash and Arrow are kind of taking the quiet approach and brainy approach. And it has given us a little bit more of variety as far as the writing. I'm finding the writing to be kind of a little bit better off this season. More character development, more quiet moments, and a little bit more plot-driven episodes. It means less special effects and less fights, but once you get them, they are pretty damn impressive. I mean, that's why they had the whole arc with Deathstroke in the last half of the season. It was freaking awesome. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that, as a fan, I can watch over and over again. This season started off with him trying to, you can see the hints that he wants to build a team back. There are some hints that Colton Hayes is going to come back, to this show. So I think we're going to see some really cool stuff in this season. As I said before, I'm probably going to do 2 audio commentaries back to back before I do another episode. So probably next time that you hear me talking about Arrow, it's probably just going to be the second part of the season as a review. But man, I gotta tell you, Arrow's kicking ass. I was lucky enough to go to France a couple years ago, and in the summer they do reruns of Arrow nonstop, like every day. Because French society doesn't allow kids to stay past a certain bedtime. So in the summer, the kids just binge watch, Arrow on TV, and it's wonderful. I think that it's a show that you can watch even without like following the entire mythology of Arrow. And I've seen people in 2 countries, France and in Mexico, just casually watching Arrow. Like whether it's like an auto shop or like some, bus stop or whatever. It's like it's one of those shows that has international appeal, and I can actually corroborate this. So I'm really liking it, and I'm gonna put my mouth where my money is, and my money where my mouth is. I'm gonna start buying all the seasons on Blu-ray. I know that they're basically for free on Netflix, but I'm gonna start supporting DC more. Because quite frankly, that's what you gotta do. You gotta put your hard-earned dollar where it's meant to be. All right, Supergirl. It's a show that had a pretty decent first season, a much more impactful second season. This particular season, we've seen some developments going in the relationships between Lena Luthor and Jimmy Olsen. We're seeing less of the Jimmy Olsen in the Guardian persona, and we're kind of exploring more of the character of Kara, and the duality between Kara and Supergirl. Interesting note: Jesse Rath, who is playing here Brainiac 5 from the future. It's an actor that starred in Defiance, Being Human, No Tomorrow, 18 to Life, and The Howling Reborn, which was a pretty weird movie. I'm a fan of The Howling, the original ones. So this one I was like, it's kind of weird. I'll take it. Actually, I thought it was the actor from Riverdale who plays Jughead. I was like, damn, he's doing 2 shows at once. But that is not the case. So this show starts with, Supergirl being defeated, and Brainiac 5 tries to revive her along with 2 other Legionnaires, Mon-El and Saturn Girl. And if there were any kind of plans to perhaps move Supergirl into the Legion of Superheroes, that might actually be awesome. I don't want the show to be canceled. Maybe title it Supergirl and the Legion. That'd be cool. Yeah, I'm loving this as much as I was not expecting to be this into it, because I don't know if you heard my previous podcast, but I had a really crappy TV, and I don't want to pay extra, so I still have coaxial in my bedroom. We have the HD in the living room, but I have coaxial on my TV here, so I watch reruns digitally through the CW app. And my 4K TV now, it's doing wonders with my 4K enabled Xbox. So I am now actually just enjoying all the work that Supergirl did. And while Netflix is good for streaming, I hope that CW releases these shows on 4K. Quite frankly, because some of these shows are doing special effects that we could only get 1 or 2 shots like these back in the Smallville days. It was like in the opening shot, maybe in the middle, and maybe in the ending, we get some really cool special effects. But now, like with Supergirl and, Legends of Tomorrow, we're getting some pretty cool special effects. And since I have high fidelity, high frame rate on my TV, it looks even better. So this season, they're including more superheroes on Supergirl, and I think that's for the best. I think if they move it to the future, that'd be great. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. And likewise, I probably won't do another commentary on TV until the season's over, and then we're going to have a spoil-a-thon. Flash, the fastest man alive, is in jail. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Thinker, who has been a really damn good villain in the first half of this season, has managed to foil Barry Allen into the same jail cell that his dad, was in. I mean, when I first saw this villain, I thought he looked like Metron, or Metron, from the New Gods, who sits in the Moebius chair and just kind of knows all things. But no, it was the Thinker. And I was not expecting to love the Thinker as much. But yeah, it Arrow, the show has taken it a little bit slower and introducing new characters Digby, who is the detective and quite stretchy, detective. Yeah, so it's been pretty damn awesome so far. I like this screen cap of Iris West, because I think she's really coming into her own in this season. The last season, it was all we gotta try to save her, from Savitar, and now she's like, okay, you're messing with my husband, my Barry Allen. There were some memes going on of like, oh, we're the Flash, and now I'm like, oh yeah, she's pissed. Now you're gonna see why she says we're the Flash. She's gonna get revenge on the bad guys, and it's gonna be so damn sweet. I also like the fact that Caitlin Snow has a dual identity, and she's been using more of her powers more and more. So again, I probably won't have much to say until the season's over. I really like all the other podcasters who have like episode by episode breakdown. I, however, don't have the free time to do so, but I will have a end of the year spoiler-a-thon of all the cool stuff that happened in all these episodes. Now, perhaps the most interesting show premiering, besides all the other ones coming back, was actually a new show. A show that was kind of previewed, I believe, in the last Comic-Con, Black Lightning. And I have to say that I was not expecting it to be this high level quality. I thought it was going to be kind of just not just empowering. I was expecting it to be empowering, but I was expecting it to be just kind of like action driven, kind of like the West family is treated on the Flash. Their race is not like the main focus, but it is like when Joe West always starts to get emotional, I get emotional. I have cried a lot with West, the West family over a Flash. So I was not expecting it to be moved by a CW episode, except I was. Black Lightning starts off with a very, very scary situation where in his civilian outfit of a vice principal, or actually main principal, he gets pulled over with his daughters in a very rainy day by two white cops, and it was fucking scary. There was a tension in there, and long story short, I don't drive that much, because I like taking the bus and public trans. Here in my town, it's actually pretty decent. So I've always saved tons of money by not having a car, because I don't want to. I like even biking, But we went to a concert in a nearby town, me and my buddies. I was, riding in the back, going to the concert, and on the way back, I rode shotgun, just because they were gonna smoke weed in the back, and so it was like, it was kind of a hippie concert, all white people except me, and, got stopped by the cops, and, the cop, kept asking me, where's the weed? Where's the weed? Where's the weed? I thought I was being racially profiled. Turns out my buddy, who was white, he told the cops that, the weed was in the front seat because that's where he was sitting. Anyways, I was scared for my life. I was like, oh fuck, I'm gonna die. They made us throw the weed away and walk to the nearest Denny's for 2 hours and then go home. But in my same hometown, a Mexican-American kid was shot because he was playing with a toy gun. So we do have that duality where we can't blame the cops for a few bad apples, but we're still in a society where some of us are scared of the cops, and that's kind of fucked up. So that first scene fucking grounded me, with Black Lightning. I was like, fuck, this hits close to home. So the whole show is actually a really nice combination of really great action, really great acting, seriousness where it needs to be, action where it needs to be, and good themes where they need to be. Things are not shoehorned in just for social commentary. They come from a very natural place. And I'm really happy because one of my favorite stories featuring Black Lightning was Final Crisis by Grant Morrison. In that issue, you get to see what the real world implications of the anti-life equation is, and it turns people into fucking zombies, and in an age where we have, fucking neo-Nazis and all these racist assholes all over the world who don't care for facts or, history, or care for people who don't look like them. To me, that's the real anti-life equation. Not caring for your fellow human being and seeing them as a fellow human beings. So, to me, Black Lightning, it's a superhero we need. Just because we need to come to some kind of consensus that, the world is experiencing this weird anti-life equation. And we need more heroes like this with diversity. And, man, the action scene in the club was really nice. And Tobias Whale, I was not expecting him to be portrayed the way he is. I was like, whoa, this person's going to give Kingpin a run for his money. So I'm blown away. I'm going to try to get my hands on that merch because the show is lit, as the Twitter is telling us. Alrighty. So the last thing on tonight's podcast is actually pretty fucking awesome. I have been giddy to talk about this for quite some time. And it finally happened. DC Entertainment had a gigantinormous panel in DC, Washington. And not only that, they propped up a comic book store. Just mostly DC Comics. I think they had some Vertigo in there. And it was nice because they gave away free copies. They had artists there signing copies, meet and greet, and stuff like that. This is like a 4.5 hour panel that you can go to the official DC channel on YouTube. And it's fucking wonderful. What you're seeing is Diane Nelson. She's always been one of my favorites. Just because, to put someone in power, in that kind of key role, who not only just happens to be a woman, but a really well qualified one, it's pretty damn awesome. Having Kevin Tetsuhura as the CEO, an Asian American who did some brilliant things. It's kind of a sign of diversity. This is something that we don't talk about and celebrate a lot. We have Kevin Tetsuhura, Jim Lee, and oh my god, Franz Manapul. 3 people who have different key roles in the DC Entertainment. Kevin Tetsuhura is CEO, but he got there because of his hard work. Same thing with, Jim Lee, who is the vice president of DC Comics Publishing, or co-publisher. He has a really fancy role. But he got there, because he was like the hardest working man in comics. He walked away from Marvel and was one of the founding members of Image Comics. His artwork alone helped the X-Men become the hottest property in the 90s, he's the man, and Francis Manapul, he is Filipino-Canadian awesome artist who is his career is just starting. So we have 3 Asian Americans who just happen to be there by talent, not because it's tokenism or because, DC has financiers in Asia. No. This is what true, open inclusiveness looks like. And same thing, Karen Berger, Janet Kahn, Diane Nelson. These three women are in key roles of DC entertainment, and it's not by tokenism, it's by just being really damn talented. So this is a giant panel, and it's 4.5 hours long. I kind of wish that I had 4.5 hours to talk to you guys about it. Perhaps. Maybe I'll do end of the year commentary, and I'll touch more on these issues. But I'll if you have the time, definitely go to the channel. If you fast forward to minute 49, that's when the spotlight on African American talent starts. If you fast forward to an hour and 38 minutes, that's when Women in DC Comics panel starts. If you fast forward to 2 hours and 38 minutes, that's when the LGBTQ panel starts. And then at 3:30, the Aftermath Battle and Trauma with Tom King and a lot of other people who kind of deal with post-stress traumatic stress syndromes and those kind of illnesses being dealt with in the DC entertainment. And it's, dude, I wish I could talk to you guys more about it. Perhaps I might, but I'm already running late on this podcast. I do have a French class that I'm taking, so my throat's kind of hurting from French. There's a lot of in French, so, and I snore a lot, so you can imagine how my throat is. But yes, I will definitely look forward to, everybody on this panels said, please come back to DC, Washington, because it's mostly African American, and they don't get a lot of conventions there. And most of the conventions are here on the West Coast, or maybe there's Dragon Con in Atlanta, New York Comic Con. But, we're trying to get the word out and have DC do this pretty much every year, man. They should go there every year. Alright, so this has been DC Domingo. For my new subscribers, thank you very much. For the old ones, for like the 10 subscribers that see this every time, thank you. One day I will definitely do giveaways once I make this my living, or I, publish my own comics, whatever happens first. Peace. Dilesi a DC.